Keep in mind, inaccurate does not mean bad. The following video was made purely for entertainment and was highly requested by many of the wonderful people in my audience. Also, yes, I am aware that it is mainly an adaptation of Marvel Comics. However, the original source for both is still Norse mythology, so I'm still gonna compare the two. Let's get started.
From a realm of cold and darkness came the frost giants, threatening to plunge the mortal world into a new ice age. But humanity would not face this threat alone.
Norse mythology does not have any stories about an ancient war between Asgard and the frost giants. Honestly, the giants in Norse myth aren't very organized. Norse mythology does begin with Odin and his brothers killing Ymir, but that's just one giant, not really a war. I mean, sure, they go to war with the giants during Ragnarok, but that's at the end of Norse mythology. Funnily enough, there actually was an ancient war between Asgard and Vanaheim, but that's not what's being shown here. Odin did not lose his eye in battle. He actually willingly pulled it out himself, as a kind of offering to access the knowledge of Mimir's magical well.
And the source of their power was taken from them.
This ice casket source of power for the frost giants is not a thing in Norse mythology.
The last great war ended, we withdrew from the other worlds and returned home to the realm eternal. Asgard.
Asgard is supposed to have a huge, impenetrable wall around it. They commissioned it from a giant right after the war with the Vanir. And they did not pay for it.
It was Asgard and its warriors that brought peace to the universe.
Peace to the universe? Do you have any idea how many fights there are in Norse mythology? Or Norse culture in general? Or the world in general? This scene shows that Mjolnir exists when Thor is just a child, which was not the case. Mjolnir was created specifically as a gift for Thor when he was already grown and married. Also, that's not what Mjolnir looks like. The handle is supposed to be too short due to Loki messing with the dwarves while they were making it, and the head is typically depicted like this.
I'm ready, Father. So am I.
Only one of you can ascend to the throne, but both of you were born to be kings.
Loki never had a father-son dynamic with Odin. When he joined the Asgardians, Odin actually made him his blood brother. Thor is somehow wielding Mjolnir without his gauntlets or his belt. His gauntlets, known as Jarngripr, allow him to control the power of the hammer, while his belt, Meyingjord, is what gives him the strength needed to lift it. I know whatever he's currently wearing isn't Meyingjord because it was confirmed in Spider-Man Homecoming that Tony Stark ends up making it.
We just gotta load Tony's old Hulkbuster armor, prototype for Cap's new shield, and Thor's magic belt.
Which is a whole nother inaccuracy. Typically, when Odin is at his throne, he has his ravens, Hugin and Munin, on his shoulders, and his wolves, Geri and Freki, on either side. But not only are they not here now, they don't seem to exist at all in this universe. Okay, mythology guy from the future here. I have only just now noticed, thanks to my editor, that there actually are two ravens perched at the very edges of this throne here. And I'm going to assume those are supposed to be Hugin and Munin. However, they are still not perched on Odin's shoulders, so the inaccuracy still holds water. And I gotta ask, Marvel, why did you even include them if you were gonna make them that hard to spot? Thor's hair and beard are actually supposed to be red.
Thor, Odin's son, my heir.
Odin never really assigned Thor as his heir. After all, it would be pointless to do so since they're both gonna die at Ragnarok.
So long entrusted with the mighty hammer Mjolnir, forged in the heart of a dying star.
No, it wasn't. It was forged by Brock and Eitri in their workshop in Nidavellir. Nidavellir is underground. It's about as far from the stars as you can get.
Frost giants.
This thing, which is called the Destroyer, is not in Norse mythology. I originally thought maybe it was supposed to be a fire giant, but Thor Ragnarok kinda disproves that theory.
They broke into the weapons vault. If the Frost Giants had stolen even one of these relics...
They didn't.
Well, I want to know why.
I have a truce with Laufey, king of the Jotun.
Laufey is not king of the Jotuns, or anything for that matter. Laufey is a woman. Also, the Jotuns do not have one single king. The fire giants are ruled by Surt, the mountain giants are ruled by Utgard Loki, and Thrym is the ruler of the frost giants. Or the earth giants. Or the ogres. It depends on who you ask. I don't see the Seirimnir boar anywhere on that table, and the gods are supposed to eat and resurrect that boar every single day. I do see the golden apples of Idun, though, so credit where credit is due.
My friends, have you forgotten all that we have done together? Fandral, Hogan, who led you into the most glorious of battles?
You did.
And Volstagg, the delicacy so succulent you thought you died and gone to Valhalla.
None of these three characters represent any actual Asgardians in Norse mythology. Kinda weird, to be honest. There's plenty to choose from.
And who proved wrong all who scoffed at the idea that a young maiden could be one of the fiercest warriors this realm has ever known?
I did.
No. No, she did not. Sif is not a warrior goddess. She is the goddess of grain and fertility and has never been in a fight. If you wanted a warrior goddess, Freya would have been a much better fit for this role. Also, Sif is supposed to have solid gold hair made for her by the dwarves. Even before she got that, she was still blonde. Marvel really seems to have trouble handling which characters should and shouldn't be blonde. Thor does not ride a horse. He has a chariot pulled by 2 goats.
Leave this to me. Good handout.
You're not dressed warmly enough.
Okay, this is a bit awkward, but the Prose Edda actually describes Heimdall as being the whitest of all the gods. Do what you will with that information. He is also said to have either golden or emerald teeth. Also, he doesn't seem to have Gjallarhorn, the horn which he will blow at the start of Ragnarok, and which he keeps with him at all times. In these movies, the 9 realms are basically 9 different planets, and the Norse gods use the Bifrost to teleport between them. In Norse myth, though, the realms actually aren't that separate. The specifics are a bit complicated, but several of them are actually walking distance from each other. There are multiple stories of Thor traveling across the realms in his chariot. And the Bifrost isn't a teleportation machine, it's simply a bridge that goes from Asgard to Midgard. Earlier in this movie, it was said that the frost giants come from the realm of cold and darkness. Here, it is revealed that that realm is Jotunheim. Jotunheim is the realm of giants, but it isn't the realm of cold and darkness. That would be either Niflheim or Helheim. This creature, who seems to simply be called the Jotunheim Beast, does not represent any actual monster in Norse mythology.
Why did you bring us back?
You realize what you've done, what you've started?
I was protecting my home.
You cannot even protect your friends. How can you hope to protect the kingdom?
You've forgotten everything I taught you. But a warrior's patience.
While you wait and be patient, the Nine Realms laugh at us. The old ways are done. You'd stand giving speeches while Asgard falls.
You are a vain, greedy, cruel boy!
And you are an old man and a fool!
What's funny about this is in the myths, Thor goes around killing giants all the time, and Odin never really has a problem with it. If anything, he actually encourages it.
I now take from you your power!
And now we've got Odin wielding Mjolnir without the gauntlets or the belt. How did he even take it? Odin doesn't have telekinesis. Also, Thor never lost his powers in the myths. His hammer was stolen once or twice, but never by Odin.
Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor.
That's not how Mjolnir works. Mjolnir is simply really freaking heavy, and too powerful for most beings to lift and wield. It has nothing to do with whether or not you're worthy. If that were the case, it wouldn't have been stolen by Thrym. And wielding it doesn't give you Thor's powers. It's a powerful hammer, sure, but its power is its own. I know this is gonna shock people, but there are no Norse legends about Thor being cast down into the 21st century and going through an arc where he learns to be more humble.
You, what realm is this? Alfheim? Nornheim?
There is no realm called Nornheim. The 9 realms are Asgard, Vanaheim, Muspelheim, Niflheim, Helheim, Jotunheim, Midgard, Alfheim, and Svartalfheim, which is also called Nidavellir. Also, why can't Thor tell what realm he's in? He knows what humans look like. He's interacted with them several times.
Hi. Just taking a little blood.
How dare you attack the son of Odin!
I need some help! Here to help.
Thor is not this elitist and narcissistic in the myths. He is actually a god of the common man and peasants, and serves as their protector. Oh, Mjolnir would have done way more damage than that. It is said that Mjolnir can destroy entire mountains with a single blow, and considering this thing was launched from the sky like a meteor, there's no telling what the result would be. I'm sure a lot of you are expecting me to comment on whether or not Thor's body type is accurate to the myths. The unfortunate fact is, we cannot be sure whether he was supposed to look more like this or like God of War Thor. The myths don't really specify it. He was definitely known for eating a lot, but he's also a god, so not sure whether that would affect him or not.
What am I?
You're my son.
What more than that? The casket wasn't the only thing you took from Jotunheim that day, was it?
No. In the aftermath of the battle, I went into the temple, and I found a baby. Small, for a giant's offspring. Abandoned, suffering, left to die. Laufey's son.
Laufey's son?
Yes.
Loki is indeed a Jotun and the son of Laufey. However, this movie has Laufey as Loki's father, and as stated before, Laufey is a woman and therefore Loki's mother. His father is actually a different Jotun named Farbauti. Also, Loki always knew what he was. There wasn't some big reveal.
It all makes sense now why you favored Thor all these years. Because no matter how much you claim to love me, you're gonna have a frost giant sitting on the throne of Asgard.
You know, Thor is a half-giant himself. Heck, so is Odin.
How'd you get inside that cloud?
Also, how could you eat an entire box of Pop-Tarts and still be this hungry?
Aha! A little nod to the myths there. I like it. Another!
I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
Father has fallen into the Odin sleep. Mother fears he may never awaken again.
We would speak with her.
She has refused to leave my father's bedside. You can bring your urgent matter to me. Your king.
Loki wouldn't be next in line for the throne, even with Odin and Thor out of the picture. Odin has other sons, you know. Balder, Vidar, Vali, Tyr, Bragi, Hod, and Heimdall. Plus there's Thor's kids, Magni and Modi.
Look what's down there. You think you're just gonna walk in, grab our stuff, and walk out?
No, I'm gonna fly out.
Thor cannot fly. Loki can, though. He actually has a pair of shoes that allow him to run across the air, kinda like Hermes. But he never has them in these films.
I come up here a lot, actually, now that I think about it. I'm really glad you're safe.
So in these movies, Thor's love interest is a human woman named Jane Foster. However, in the myths, he's actually married to Sif.
Your ancestors called it magic, and you call it science. Well, I come from a place where they're one and the same thing.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, the dwarves definitely used both magic and science in their crafting. How else do you make a rope out of the breath of a fish?
So the 9 realms. Now there is Midgard, which is Earth. Alfheim, Vanaheim, Jotunheim, and Asgard.
You only listed 5 realms, though. There's 4 more.
You would defy the commands of Loki, our king. Break every oath you have taken as warriors and commit treason to bring Thor back.
Yes.
Good.
Why didn't Loki have them swear their oaths on the Gungnir spear? Oaths sworn on that spear are unbreakable. And we know he has it. He was holding it in the throne room scene earlier.
Ensure my brother does not return. Destroy everything.
Okay, Loki messes with the Asgardians a lot, but he never tried to kill any of them before Ragnarok. Well, except for Balder. He did not like Balder.
Tell me, Loki, how did you get the Jotuns into Asgard?
You think the Bifrost is the only way in and out of this realm? There are secret paths between the worlds to which even you, with all your gifts, are blind.
No, he isn't. Odin's eye is all-seeing, so it does make sense that he would know what's going on with Thor right now. But it also begs the question, how exactly does Loki plan to get away with any of this?
Not a great plan.
Mjolnir does not have the power to provide its wielder with a full set of clothes.
Welcome to Asgard.
In this scene, we see some frost giants easily walking on the Bifrost Bridge. However, in Norse mythology, one of the main reasons the giants never invade Asgard is because the Bifrost will actually incinerate any frost or mountain giants that come into contact with it. The only giants who are unaffected by this are obviously the fire giants, which is why during Ragnarok they're the ones who are going to destroy the bridge. You know, Frigg isn't some naive pushover. She's an extremely wise and clever goddess who likely would have figured a better way out of this situation. Also, she's supposed to be attended by the goddesses Ymir, Hlyn, Gna, and Fula. Where the heck are they? Because they certainly aren't doing their jobs. I think it might be time to fire some people. Remember earlier how I said the Bifrost is not a teleporter? Yeah, well, it's not a doomsday weapon either.
Forgive me, Jane.
The Bifrost does not get destroyed at any point before Ragnarok. Loki would not need to take this guy's eyeball to get past the scanner. Loki has the power to change his form and could have easily just taken this guy's form.
So, Thor, what's his play? He has an army called the Chitauri. They're not of Asgard nor any world known. He means to lead them against your people. They will win him the Earth. In return, I suspect, for the Tesseract.
An army. From outer space.
Loki actually does eventually lead an army to destroy the world, but it's an army of zombies and giants, not space aliens.
You changed everything around here.
They were better as they were. We pretend on Asgard that we're more advanced, but we come here battling like Bildschneip.
Like what?
Bildschneip. You know, huge, scaly, big antlers. You don't have those?
Don't think so.
Fun fact, Norse mythology doesn't have them either. Closest thing would be dragons, I guess, but none of them are ever called Bildschneip.
When I first came to Earth, Loki's rage followed me here, and your people paid the price.
Wait, that was supposed to be the first time Thor came to Earth? Do you know how many stories that undoes?
No!
Are you ever not going to fall for that?
No. You guys do not understand how powerful Mjolnir is. I don't care what the hell that glass is made of, that whole prison would be destroyed after one swing.
Would you like a drink?
Stalling me won't change anything.
No, threatening. No drink, you sure? I'm having one.
A Norse god just turned down alcohol. Need I say more?
Yeah. Takes us a while to get any traction, I'll give you that one. But let's do a head count here. Your brother, the demigod.
Thor is not a demigod. He is not half human, nor is he a lesser deity. He is a god, and without a doubt, one of the two most revered gods in all of Norse culture. I know this is gonna shock people, but Thor does not join a team of superheroes in Norse mythology.
Long before the birth of light, there was darkness. And from that darkness came the Dark Elves.
No, they didn't. This movie is suggesting that Dark Elves came into existence before any other beings during a time when light didn't exist yet. In Norse mythology, though, the Dark Elves didn't come into existence until after the death of the giant Ymir, and Ymir wasn't born until Muspelheim and Niflheim existed. Muspelheim is the realm of fire, so light definitely existed before the Dark Elves. Also, Odin's family and a couple generations of giants had already been born before Ymir's death, so the Dark Elves weren't first. As for whether the Dark Elves came from the darkness, it's a little unclear, but based on the interpretation, they're either descended from dwarves, descended from light elves, or emerged from Ymir's corpse after he died. I guess you could call that emerging from darkness, but I doubt that's what the movie was referring to. Man, I had a lot to say about the first two sentences of this film.
Millennia ago, the most ruthless of their kind, Malekith, sought to transform our universe back into one of eternal night.
This Malekith character is not in Norse mythology. Also, the Edda describes Dark Elves as being blacker than ink, which is definitely not the case here.
Such evil was possible through the power of the Ether, an ancient force of infinite destruction.
No, it wasn't. Ether is actually the name of the Greek primordial god of light, and it's also a Greek word for clear or fresh air. How that can be associated with infinite destruction is beyond me.
The noble armies of Asgard, led by my father, King Bor, waged a mighty war against these creatures.
Odin's father was named Bor, but he wasn't king of Asgard, considering Asgard didn't even exist until Odin and his allies founded it. Bor also didn't go to war with the Dark Elves, considering they didn't exist yet either. And in case you're wondering if this war happened later on, no, it never did.
Destiny, come live on me.
there is no mention of dark elves using performance-enhancing curses in Norse mythology.
As the Nine Worlds converged above him, Malekith could at last unleash the Ether.
You only showed 3 above him, though. Also, isn't he currently standing in one of the 9 worlds? What do you mean when you say they're converging above him? Even setting that aside, as I pointed out in my last video, the 9 realms are structured in a way that in some stories, characters can travel between them on foot, so there would never be a scenario where they're all on top of each other.
Without it, the Dark Elves fell.
Are these ancient Norse warriors shooting laser beams? Do I even need to say anything else?
Okay,
there are some Norse stories that suggest the Dark Elves were very talented builders, even on par with the dwarves sometimes, but the list of accomplishments did not include giant floating spaceships. Sorry to pull you out of the magic there.
Desire the ether. Shall we destroy it?
If only we could. But its power is too great.
Bor seems to be wielding the Gungnir spear here, but that spear was made specifically for Odin by the Sons of Ivaldi long after Bor's time. What's especially ironic about this is the Sons of Ivaldi are sometimes said to be Dark Elves, and Bro literally just used it in a war against Dark Elves. Pretty big conflict of interest.
I really don't see what all the fuss is about.
Do you not truly feel the gravity of your crimes? Wherever you go, there is war, ruin, and death.
I went down to Midgard to rule the people of Earth as a benevolent god. Just like you.
We are not gods. We're born, we live, we die, just as humans do.
Give or take 5,000 years.
Okay, there are some ongoing arguments as to whether the Norse people considered the Aesir to truly be gods, but saying they are born, live, and die just as humans do is pretty out there. Kvasir was born by all the gods spitting into a vessel, and Heimdall had 9 mothers, however the Helheim that works. It's also pretty weird for Odin to directly say they're not gods here, when in the 3rd movie he directly refers to Hela as the goddess of death.
I cannot keep her away any longer.
Oh, who are you talking about?
Goddess of death. Hela.
Also, Loki counters by saying the gods live for 5,000 years, but the Norse gods get their agelessness by eating Idun's magic apples, which anyone can eat, so that's not really much of a case.
Frigga is the only reason you're still alive, and you will never see her again.
Who the hell is Frigga? Are you talking about your wife? 'Cause her name is Frigg. Odin, it might be a good idea to learn your wife's name, 'cause otherwise that's just a huge fight waiting to happen. In this scene, Vanaheim is under attack and the Aesir have to show up and restore order, which is a bit weird considering Vanaheim actually has its own set of gods called the Vanir. These include Freyr, Freya, and Njord, all very powerful gods, so where exactly are they?
Hello? I accept your surrender. Anyone else?
I can't help but wonder if that stone giant was supposed to be Hrungnir. If so, the fight should have been preceded by the giant getting drunk and talking a whole lot of crap about Thor's family, and Thor should now have a piece of flint stuck in his head.
Where do we go next?
Hogan, the peace is nearly won. Across the 9 realms. You should stay here, be with your people, where your heart is. Asgard can wait.
I know what a lot of you are thinking. What is an Asian guy doing in a Norse mythical realm? Well, I may actually have an answer for that. See, Vanaheim also has its own version of Valhalla called Folkvanger, a place that consists of warriors who died bravely in combat. Maybe Hogan is one of those warriors. Maybe the Vanir saw him go down fighting in Asia and recruited him. I don't know, it's the best I can think of.
Is Vanaheim secure?
As Nornheim and Raya?
Raya? What the hell is Raya? How many realms are you gonna make up?
Nothing out of order except your confused and distracted heart.
This isn't about Jane Foster, Father.
Human lives are fleeting, they're nothing. You'd be better served by what lies in front of you.
Ah, he's trying to get Thor to date Sif. See, even Odin wants these movies to follow the myths more.
It does not go unnoticed that you disappear each night. There are 9 realms.
Are there? Because counting Nornheim and Raya, we're currently sitting at 11. Svartalfheim, also called Nidavellir, is supposed to be an entirely underground realm comprised of tunnels and caverns with no sunlight whatsoever, and yet I can very clearly see the sky with clouds and light coming through. Dark elves can't even survive in sunlight. It turns them to stone. This is not an ideal environment. You didn't exist before the light, so I can see why remembering that time would be tricky. Is there any reason you can't just live underground like you do in Norse mythology? If you miss Amir's corpse so much, feel free to hop right back in.
My words are mere noises to you that you ignore them completely?
She's ill.
She is mortal. Illness is their defining trait.
I brought her here because we can help her.
She does not belong here in Asgard any more than a goat belongs at a banquet table.
What do you mean mortals don't belong in Asgard? Has no one told him about the literal army of mortal Einherjar being trained in Valhalla, which is within Asgard? Somebody should probably tell him. Also, you're mortal yourself the second you stop eating those magic apples, so lose the elitist attitude.
Born of eternal night, the dark elves come to steal away the light. I knew these stories. Mother told them to us as children.
The leader Malekith made a weapon out of that darkness, and it was called the Ether.
Again, Ether is literally a god of light. This is so off.
Malekith sought to use the Ether's power to return the universe to one of darkness. But after eternities of bloodshed, my father Bor finally triumphed, ushering in a peace that lasted thousands of years.
What peace are you talking about? Did you and your allies not battle Ymir? Did you not go to war with Vanaheim? Wait, even in the MCU continuity, didn't you have a war with the Frost Giants after this?
Odin continues to bring me new friends. How thoughtful.
The books I sent, do they not interest you?
When Loki was imprisoned by the gods, it wasn't quite so comfortable. He was tied down to a rock using the entrails of his own son, and a snake dripping acidic venom onto his face from above. That's a 2-star rating at most.
What of the lives you took on Earth?
A mere handful compared to the number that Odin has taken himself.
Your father...
He's not my father!
Then am I not your mother?
Well, you didn't raise him in the myths, so no. No, you're not.
When you came for me, you knew I was in trouble.
Well, Heimdall had lost sight of you. You were no longer on Earth.
Well, how's that possible?
I believe you were and you weren't. The 9 realms travel within Yggdrasil, orbiting Midgard much the way your planets orbit the sun. And every 5,000 years, the worlds align perfectly, and we call this the convergence.
None of that happens. You just made all that up.
What's gonna happen to me?
I'll find a way to save you, Jane.
Your father said there
My
was...
father doesn't know everything.
He doesn't? Well, I guess that means Mimir ripped him off when he traded his eye for unparalleled wisdom and knowledge.
Don't let him hear you say that.
Jane Foster, please meet Frigga, Queen of Asgard, my mother.
Frigg is not Thor's mother. She's Odin's wife, sure, but Thor's mother is Jord, the Jotun goddess of the earth. Wait, is this supposed to be the Wall of Asgard? Alright, well, still inaccurate, since in the myth it was built by a giant using rocks. I scoured and scoured, but I couldn't find anything that could pass for an implosion grenade in Norse mythology.
Where is the ether?
I'll never tell you.
I believe you.
Frigg does not die before Ragnarok. Her death isn't specifically mentioned, but we know she is alive at some point during Ragnarok because she cries when Odin dies. The Dark Elves go directly into the sunlight here, and yet they do not turn to stone.
You missed a column.
Shut up!
Look, why don't you let me take over? I'm clearly the better pilot.
Is that right? Well, out of the two of us, which one can actually fly?
Loki. As I said in the last video, Loki has flying shoes in the myths and Thor doesn't. Plus, he once flew using Freya's cape. Plus, he can shapeshift. There's really no contest here.
You know, this is wonderful. This is a tremendous idea. Let's steal the biggest, most obvious ship in the universe and escape in that.
I'm pretty sure Naglfar is way bigger, considering that ship is big enough to carry all of the dishonorable dead and the giants. I'm afraid Loki may be guilty of hyperbole.
You really think I cared about Frigga? About any of you? All I ever wanted was you and Odin dead at my feet.
Don't forget about Balder. He definitely wanted Balder dead. He made that very clear.
Jane!
Hey.
You can't just leave like that. The whole world is going crazy. All the stuff we saw is spreading.
I think this is a good time to mention, in the myths, Thor has the ability to shrink Mjolnir down and wear it as a necklace when he's not using it. You know, I'm just gonna take a minute to point out the missed opportunity here. This climax has all 9 realms converging on each other, but all we ever see is these two popping back and forth between Midgard and Svartalfheim, with one detour in Jotunheim. If this scene leaned into the myths more, we could have gotten a hodgepodge of light elves, dark elves, dwarves, droger, dragons, giants, and a gossiping squirrel all running around in absolute chaos from all the different realms. How much more fun would that have been? But no, we just get wasn't in the myths Malekith with his wasn't in the myths ether flailing around for a while. Riveting.
Thank you, Father.
No. Thank you.
You know, I'm starting to think Odin doesn't have his all-seeing eye in these movies. He never seems up to date with what's going on, to the point that Loki's managed to take over all of Asgard for the second time in as many films.
Thor report on the Hulk?
The gates of hell are filled with the screams of his victims.
Okay, props for using the right version of hell in the movie subtitles, but the victims Thor is referring to here died in a battle against the Hulk, which likely means they would have actually gone to Valhalla or Folkvanger. Helheim is for people who did not die in battle.
I gotta have some of that.
No. See, this was aged for 1,000 years. The barrels built from the wreck of Grunhild's fleet.
There is no character named Grunhild in Norse mythology.
Never one to shrink from an honest challenge.
Get after it.
It's physics.
Physics.
Right, so if I lift it, I then rule Asgard?
Yes, of course.
That's actually an Arthurian legend you're referencing there, Tony. That rule doesn't apply to Mjolnir. Hey, what do you mean he's just joking? Shut up! You know we take everything literally on this channel.
This is it. The Water of Sight.
This Water of Sight is clearly supposed to be the Well of Erd. Not sure why they didn't just call it the Well of Erd.
In every realm, there's a reflection. If the water spirits accept me, I can return to my dream and find what I missed.
I assume these water spirits are supposed to be the Norns, which are not exactly water spirits. There are water spirits in Norse mythology called Nukken, but I doubt he's referring to them considering Nukken do not have mental abilities and are in fact known for drowning women and children. The Norns, however, are deities who use the well to shape the destinies of mankind, so if he needs help seeing the future, I'm pretty sure he'd go to them. But then again, maybe he isn't, since apparently there's a realm called Nornheim in these movies, and they're probably over there. Even though in mythology, they're supposed to live in a place beneath the World Tree, and he's currently in Midgard. You know what? I have no idea how these films work.
Men who enter that water, the legends don't end well.
What legends are you reading? I've read stories where the gods literally have meetings there. This movie opens with Thor in Muspelheim, the realm of fire, but none of the Aesir ever really went to Muspelheim. Some sources say this is because Muspelheim is actually so hot that only those who are native to it can survive there.
Thor, son of Odin.
Surt, or Surtur, looks pretty badass here, but in actual Norse culture, he seems to have been depicted as more human-looking and with a long beard.
Surtur, son of a bitch, you're still alive. I thought my father killed you like 500,000 years ago.
Why would you think that? The prophecy of Ragnarok has him as a key figure in it. Has nobody told Thor the prophecy? Somebody should really tell him. It's a pretty important event, and also the name of this film.
Okay, so Ragnarok. Tell me about that. Walk me through it.
My time has come. When my crown is reunited with the eternal flame, I shall be restored to my full might.
This eternal flame Surt's referring to is not in Norse mythology. Surt reaches his full potential when he either acquires or finishes crafting his flaming sword.
Okay, so where is it, this crown?
This is my crown, the source of my power.
There is no mention of Surt having a crown.
Anyway, it sounds like all I have to do to stop Ragnarok is rip that thing off your head.
But Ragnarok has already begun.
Has it? Have any of the signals of Ragnarok happened? Ragnarok is supposed to be preceded by 3 years of Fimbulwinter. Spider-Man Homecoming came out just a few months before this, and there wasn't any Fimbulwinter there. Has Baldur even been killed? He hasn't appeared at all in the MCU so far, so I have no idea. Maybe Surt thinks Ragnarok is here because his sword seems to be finished, but if that's his legendary flaming sword, why isn't it flaming?
You have made a grave mistake, Odin's son.
I make grave mistakes all the time. Everything seems to work out.
For anyone wondering what these creatures are, Surt does have an army in the myths known as the Sons of Muspel. They are also called fire giants. And if you're now wondering why they aren't giant, well, giant in Norse mythology doesn't always mean huge. It's just the name for certain races who are sometimes gigantic and sometimes human-sized. Yes, it's confusing, but that's what happens when things don't get properly translated.
I'm down! Running short on options!
Scourge?
This Scourge character is not in Norse mythology.
I'm sorry about that thing with the Tesseract. I just couldn't help myself. I know. I'm a trickster. Yes, so mischievous. Yes. Sorry about that time. I turned you into a frog. It was a wonderful joke.
It was indeed hilarious.
I know you're referencing the comics here, but that still didn't happen in the myths, and it's my job to point that out. Sorry, Marvel fans, you're not allowed to have fun.
So it's, back to Midgard for you, is it?
Nope. You know, I've been having this reoccurring dream lately. Every night I see Asgard falling to ruins.
That's just a silly dream. Signs of an overactive imagination.
Possibly. But then I decide to go out there and investigate. And what do I find but the 9 realms completely in chaos?
Well, one of those realms is Asgard, which you are currently standing in. Doesn't look completely chaotic to me.
Thor Odinson. God of Thunder. You can put down the umbrella.
So Earth has wizards now.
Well, it's not the first time, Thor. In Old Norse culture, there were several people who were believed to wield a form of magic called Seidr. Sure, it originally came from Vanaheim, but it was still very much practiced on Earth.
I know we failed you, but we can make this right.
I failed you. It is upon us. Ragnarok.
No, I've stopped Ragnarok. I put an end to Surtur.
No. It's already begun. She's coming. My life was all that held her back, but my time has come.
Odin, you realize you don't have to die here. You can just eat one of the golden apples of Idun and you'll be restored to your prime. I know you have some. They were all over the table in the first movie.
I cannot keep her away any longer.
Oh, who are you talking about?
Goddess of death. Hela. My firstborn. Your sister.
What?
Okay, first of all, the goddess of death is named Hel, not Hela. Why does Marvel keep adding random A's at the end of Norse names? Second, Odin's firstborn was Balder, wherever the Helheim he is. Third, Hel isn't even a child of Odin. She is the daughter of Loki and Angerboda. Fourth, Odin says Ragnarok is coming because Hel is coming, but Hel is not one of the many signals of Ragnarok. There's an army of Drogur that'll show up for it, sure, but that army will be led by Loki and Hrym, not Hel.
Her violent appetites grew beyond my control. Couldn't stop it, so I imprisoned her, locked her away.
No, Odin prevented Hel from becoming a threat by putting her in charge of Helheim straight from childhood, a position she seemed to enjoy.
She draws her strength from Asgard, and once she gets there, her powers will be limitless.
She does not draw strength from Asgard, and is in fact never identified as an enemy of the gods in any known story.
I love you, my sons. Look at that. Remember this place. Home.
Odin does not die before Ragnarok, nor is this how he dies. He gets eaten alive during the battle by the wolf Fenrir. One of the things that makes Hel unique is that her appearance is split right down the middle, with one side looking lively and beautiful, while the other side looks completely dead. Not sure why we couldn't have done that here.
Kneel. Before your queen.
I don't think so. It's not possible.
Darling, you have no idea what's possible.
There is no information that would suggest Hel has the power to lift or destroy Mjolnir, though honestly, there isn't a ton of info about her. But Mjolnir is specifically described as indestructible by the dwarves who created it.
It's come to my attention that you don't know who I am. I am Hela, Odin's firstborn, the commander of the legions of Asgard, the rightful heir to the throne, and the goddess of death.
Hel's existence was not kept secret from the realms. Would be pretty hard to do that when she literally rules over the realm of the dead.
My father is dead, as are the princes. You're welcome. We were once the seat of absolute power in the cosmos. Our supremacy was unchallenged.
That's not true. One of the earliest Norse stories was when Asgard went to war with Vanaheim and the two realms fought to a standstill. Neither came out on top.
Fine.
Hel frequently spawns swords and other weapons to do battle in this movie. In the myths, there doesn't seem to be any combat weapon directly associated with Hel. Closest thing would be her kitchen knife, which was called Famine. Honestly, I think it would have been pretty fun to see her use that in combat. Unfortunately, due to lack of any stories that in any way showcase Hel's fighting abilities, I cannot be sure whether or not she could single-handedly take down the entire army of Asgard.
So?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Carlo? I pardon you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You're officially pardoned from life.
Help me!
Oh my God!
Whoa, wait, who are you referring to when you say, my god? You are a god. Are you referring to yourself? Your father? Someone higher up the chain of command? Did Snorri Sturluson turn you Christian? Sorry, I know this is a tiny thing to focus on, but that line really rose my eyebrows.
We were unstoppable. I was his weapon in the conquest that built Asgard's empire. One by one, the realms became ours. But then, simply because my ambition outgrew his, he banished me, caged me, locked me away like an animal.
Hel never fought in any wars, Asgard did not conquer the other realms, and Hel did not wield Mjolnir before Thor. Mjolnir was made specifically for Thor by Brok and Eitri to win a bet they made with Loki.
Before that, Asgard's warriors were honored, their bodies buried as heroes beneath this very palace.
Well, Asgard's warriors are the Einherjar, and their bodies weren't buried in Asgard. Their souls live on in Asgard and are revived every day in Valhalla to prepare for Ragnarok.
Fenris, my God, what have they done to you?
Fenris is Hel's pet in this film. In the myths, Fenris, or Fenrir, is actually Hel's brother, and her pet is a different giant wolf named Garm. Though, to be fair, there are people who theorize that Fenris and Garm were actually just two different names for the same wolf. Even if that's true, though, Fenrir was not dead at any point before Ragnarok. He was tied up by the gods using a powerful golden rope called Gleipnir. Fun fact, Hel is also said to have a three-legged horse named Helhest.
But this, the eternal flame. With the eternal flame, you are reborn. I've missed you. I've missed you all.
Hel didn't need some eternal flame to create an army of undead warriors. When Ragnarok begins, an army of Drogar will simply leave the underworld and take a ship to the battle.
Odin, I bid you take your place in the halls of Valhalla, where the brave shall live forever.
How is Odin going to find peace in Valhalla when Asgard is currently under the rule of Hel? Valhalla is within Asgard. Plus, Odin couldn't go to Valhalla anyway because he didn't die in battle. Thor's not thinking this through.
I used to want to be a Valkyrie when I was younger, until I found out that you were all women. There's nothing wrong with women, of course. I love women. Sometimes a little too much. Not in a creepy way, just more of a respectful appreciation. I think it's great that there is an elite force of women warriors. It's about time.
What do you mean it's about time? Written legends of Valkyries have been around since the 13th century.
When I was young, every great king had an executioner. Not just to execute people, but also to execute their vision. But mainly to execute people. Still, it was a great honor. I was Odin's executioner. And you shall be my executioner. Let's begin our conquest.
I think this is a good time to bring up that Hel in the myths actually had two servants, both named Lazy Walker, but neither of them appears here. Maybe they're busy yelling at their parents for the names they gave them.
Skirt, where's the sword? That sword is the key to opening the Bifrost.
Okay, this isn't myth-related, but it's driving me nuts. Heimdall's sword is very clearly not the only key to open the Bifrost in these films. We very clearly saw Loki use the Gungnir spear to open it in the first movie, and that very spear was just shown next to Hel in the previous scene. Just use that!
I thought the Valkyrie had all died gruesome deaths.
Choose your next words wisely.
I'm terribly sorry. Must be a very painful memory.
The Valkyries seem to be riding Pegasi here, which are from Greek mythology and do not appear in Norse. Valkyries are actually capable of flying on their own, either magically or with wings depending on the portrayal. This scene also shows nearly all of the Valkyries being wiped out by Hel in ancient times, which did not happen. The majority of the Valkyries were still alive up until Ragnarok. Also, which Valkyrie even is this character? They only ever seem to call her Valkyrie, as though she doesn't have another name, but the Valkyries did have names like Brunhilde, Thrud, Regenleif, etc.
Etc., etc., etc. I've got a peace offering.
Surprise. Ow.
Regular chains are not enough to restrain Loki. When the gods imprisoned him, they had to use the entrails of his son Narfi to successfully bind him.
Okay, can I just give a quick FYI? I was just talking to him just a couple of minutes ago, and he was totally ready to kill any of us.
He did try to kill me.
Yes, me too. On many occasions. There was one time when we were children, he transformed himself into a snake, and he knows that I love snakes. So I went to pick up the snake to admire it, and he transformed back into himself, and he was like, "Yeah, it's me!" And he stabbed me. We were 8 at the time.
People keep telling me that this little story is supposed to be a mythology Easter egg, but if it is, I cannot for the life of me figure out how. There is no story I can find that represents this at all. My best guess is maybe it's some kind of reference to Loki's son Jormungandr? Feel free to let me know in the comments, because I'm stumped.
Oh, it looks painful. Oh, dear brother, becoming predictable. I trust you. You betray me round and round in circles we go. See, Loki, life is about growth. It's about change. But you seem to just want to stay the same. I guess what I'm trying to say is that you'll always be the god of mischief. But you could be more.
You know, funnily enough, Loki actually did grow and change in mythology, but not in a good way. He was originally a mischievous protagonist who got on people's nerves, but was still an ally to the Aesir at the end of the day. However, when Christian influence spread around, Loki was equated with the devil, and soon became a straight-up evil villain who murdered the god Balder just for kicks. So he definitely had character development, just in the opposite direction of these films.
Here's the
the difference between us? I'm Odin's firstborn, the rightful heir, the savior of Asgard. And you're nothing. So simple. Even a blind man could see it.
Thor did not lose an eye at any point before or during Ragnarok.
Hey man. I'm Korg, this is me. We're gonna jump on that spaceship and get out of here. Wanna come?
Your savior is here!
Loki actually does arrive by ship to Ragnarok, but surprise, surprise, it's not a spaceship. It's the ship of the dead, Naglfar, a ship made entirely of fingernails and toenails. And he doesn't come to save the Asgardians, he comes to fight against them, bringing with him an army of Drogur and giants. But in this film, there are no giants, and the Drogur were already here before him.
Welcome home. I saw you coming.
Of course you did.
I know this is gonna shock people, but there were actually no alien gladiators in the tale of Ragnarok.
It's a valiant effort, but you never stood a chance. You see, I'm not a queen or a monster.
You are a queen, though, of Helheim. I've pointed that out multiple times. Weren't you listening?
I'm the goddess of death. What were you the god of again?
Even when you had two eyes, you'd see only half the picture.
It's too strong. Without my hammer, I can't.
Are you Thor, the god of hammers? That hammer was to help you control your power, to focus it. It's never your source of strength.
It's a bit hard to comment on whether Thor's lightning powers come from him or his hammer, because technically, there is no real mention of Thor controlling lightning at all in Norse mythology. The only surviving hints that he might are that Thor's name means thunder, and Mjolnir is sometimes said to mean lightning maker. Some say that his connection to lightning comes from people believing that a lightning bolt was actually Thor's hammer being thrown across the sky at a giant, and the sound of thunder was his hammer striking. There was a Christian writer named Adam of Bremen who said Thor governed over lightning, so that might be legit. Basically, this is one of the vaguer myth topics. Fenrir was actually slain by the god Vidar during Ragnarok, as revenge for the wolf killing his father Odin.
Asgard's not a place, it's a people.
Loki, this was never about stopping Ragnarok. This was about causing Ragnarok. Surtur's crown, the vault. It's the only way.
Bold move, brother. Even for me. With the eternal flame, you are reborn.
That's not how Ragnarok begins. There are several catalysts that kick off Ragnarok, such as Loki breaking free from his imprisonment, Fenrir breaking free from Gleipnir, Garm escaping Helheim, the Ship of Nails being completed, Surt's sword being completed, the 3 sacred roosters crowing, Heimdall blowing Yallarhorn, etc. But absolutely none of that has been shown in this film. There were so many options. Why on earth would you make up a new one?
You want Asgard? It's yours.
Whatever game you're playing, it won't work. You can't defeat me.
No, I know. But he can.
No!
Tremble before me, Asgard. I am your enemy.
Surt is supposed to reach Ragnarok by riding there with his army. destroying the Bifrost in the process. Also, Ragnarok doesn't take place in Asgard. It takes place on a battlefield in Midgard called Vigridr. So this is Ragnarok, huh? Just hell and Surt fighting. Einherjar, Drogur, Fenrir, and Odin have all been killed off beforehand, unlike the myth. We also don't have the army of giants, Hrym, Garm, Jormungandr, the armies of mankind, the Valkyries, any Aesir or Vanir. We don't have the clash between Nidhogg and Hraesvelgr that destroys the World Tree. We don't have Freyr's battle with Surt. Really, not a lot of actual Ragnarok in this Ragnarok movie.
The damage is not too bad. As long as the foundations are still strong, we can rebuild this place. It will become a haven for all peoples and aliens of the universe. Now those foundations are gone, sorry.
When Surt dies, his flames actually destroy Midgard, not Asgard.
The throne.
So, let's talk about all the guys who are still alive but shouldn't be. During Ragnarok, Thor is supposed to get bitten by the serpent Jormungandr and die from its poison shortly after slaying it. Heimdall and Loki are supposed to kill each other in combat, but not only are they both alive, they're on the same side. There are tons of other significant deaths, but none of the gods involved in them have even appeared in these films. Also, the characters who are actually supposed to survive Ragnarok are nowhere to be seen. Thor's sons Magni and Modi aren't here, and they're supposed to inherit Mjolnir after Thor's death. But ironically, the hammer is dead and Thor is alive. Baldur is also supposed to come back from the dead after Ragnarok, but still no sign of him. I guess he'll just forever be a quick little reference in Loki Season 2.
Such poverty of imagination.
Is somebody feeling a little left out that they're not up there?
No. Then why'd they include Baldur? No one's even heard of him.
Sure they have. Baldur the Brave.
I ask you, to what end? Dread it? Run from it? Destiny arrives all the same. And now it's here. Or should I say, I am.
Thanos refers to himself as Destiny here, but the Norse personification of Destiny is the three Norns who weave the tapestry of fate. What do you mean I'm taking him too literally? So, instead of killing each other during Ragnarok, Heimdall and Loki get killed by someone else directly after Ragnarok. Yeah, okay. We see both the sun and the moon here, which is a bit weird considering they should have recently been eaten by two giant wolves named Skoll and Hati.
Slow down and I'll
You're
spell
totally
it out for
rambling.
you. No, I'm not.
Lost me.
Look, you know how you're having a dream, and in the dream you gotta pee.
Yeah.
Wow, the world is looking surprisingly normal despite the fact that Ragnarok just happened. To put it into perspective, the events of Fimbulwinter and Ragnarok include the world plunging into darkness, all of humanity turning on each other, killing each other, behaving like animals, the oceans being poisoned by Jormungandr and the sea life being wiped out, the earth, forests, and air itself being burnt by Surt's flames, ash falling from the sky like snow, literally all of humanity being wiped out except for two people named Leif and Leifthrazir. You get the idea. It's all pretty messed up. Sure, the world is eventually reborn and the two survivors repopulate humanity, but it sure as hell doesn't happen this fast.
Who the hell are you guys?
Ah, that's the wrong version of hell, Marvel. Come on, you got it right in Age of Ultron. What happened here?
You know, I'm 1,500 years old.
Actually, Thor is likely much older than that. While his followers were most prominent about 1,200 years ago, references to Thor have been found that date all the way back to the 1st century AD, which would suggest Thor is at least 2,000 years old. Wait, Nidavellir is often said to be the same realm as Svartalfheim, but we saw Svartalfheim in the Dark World movie, and now Nidavellir is a separate place? Marvel, how many realms are there in this freaking continuity? You keep saying there are 9, like in the myths, but you've pulled Nornheim and Raya out of God knows where, Svartalfheim and Nidavellir are separate, and in the last movie, Thor talked about the 9 realms as though they were separate from Asgard. That puts us at 13 realms! Also, Nidavellir is supposed to be underground, not in space.
I hope these dwarves are better at forging than they are cleaning.
Petrie, wait! Stop! Thor?
Dwarves are not gigantic. They are actually shorter than average. One would think that would be obvious, but here we are.
This is the plan? We're gonna hit him with a brick?
It's a mold. A king's weapon. Meant to be the greatest in Asgard. In theory, it could even summon the Bifrost.
It have a name?
Stormbreaker.
Yeah, it's a bit much.
This Stormbreaker weapon is not in Norse mythology.
That's Nidavellir!
Sunlight is supposed to turn dwarves to stone, as evidenced by the tale of Alvis, and yet Eitri apparently frequently uses an equivalent of it here in his forge.
Forefathers! Let the dark magic flow through me one last time. All fathers give me strength.
Why are you saying all fathers as though it's plural? There is only ever one Allfather in Norse mythology, Odin.
So, what I'm saying is, time works differently in the quantum realm. What if there was a way that we could enter the quantum realm at a certain point in time, but then exit the quantum realm at another point in time?
Are you talking about a time machine?
No. No, of course not. No, not a time machine. This is more like, yeah, like a time machine.
So, this movie uses the quantum realm as a way to travel through time. Technically, though, if they wanted to, the Avengers could probably find a way to travel through time using the Norse world tree Yggdrasil. You see, there are some tellings alluding to the idea that, in addition to connecting the 9 realms, Yggdrasil also connects the past, present, and future. And it is that power which the Norns draw from to shape destiny. Honestly, kinda surprised Thor doesn't at least try asking the Norns if this is possible. He went to them to ask about Ultron, but he doesn't see a need to now when the stakes are so much higher?
You shouldn't have come.
Ah, Valkyrie. Great to see you, angry girl.
I think I liked you better either of the other ways.
This is Rocket.
How you doing?
Turns out, according to the comics and many of your comments, this character is the Valkyrie Brunhilde from Mythology. The movies don't outright state this, but if it is the case, we have several new inaccuracies. Brunhilde is supposed to have golden hair and is known for wearing a helmet, to the point that she was literally called Hild under the helmet at one point. Yet that is the only armor piece she never wears in the MCU. She is also supposed to have gotten married and eventually taken her own life in stories that take place well before Ragnarok.
Oh my god! Oh my god, it's so good to see you!
Give me a cuddly little rascal.
Yeah, no, I'm good. It's not necessary.
Hulk, you know my friends, Meek and Korg, right?
Hey,
Hey,
boys.
guys. Long time no see.
Beers on the bucket. Feel free to log into the Wi-Fi. No password, obviously.
It is standard Viking practice to provide a feast or at least some form of food when guests arrive, yet these members of New Asgard don't even offer any of the clearly visible pizza to their guests. This would have been considered a divine offense, and we are literally in the house of a divine being.
So you guys want a drink? What are we drinking? Well, I got beer, tequila, all sorts of things.
No mead? You dishonor your people, Thor. These offenses are starting to add up.
There's beer on the ship.
And what kind?
In a plane, and all the passengers were drunk and
Drifting left.
One side there, Lebowski.
Look, the Vikings did indeed drink beer, but this would have to be one hell of a beer to cause any kind of intoxication for Thor. Need I remind you that this guy was able to drink enough of the world's ocean to noticeably lessen it?
I'll be right back, okay? There's the wine cellar. It's just down here. My father used to have this huge barrel of Iconian ale.
Wine was a thing in Old Norse, but Iconian ale was not.
If you could send Loki some soup. Yes, maybe. Ladies, I'll see you after.
Wait, are those Frigg's 4 female attendants that I mentioned in the first video? Wow, okay, credit where credit is due. Where the hell were they before?
What's wrong with your eye?
Oh my eye, you remember the Battle of Harroquin when I got hit in the face with the broadsword?
Harroquin? Who's Harroquin? Do you mean Hyrrokin? Hyrrokin was a giantess who simply assisted the Aesir during Baldur's funeral. There was no battle and no broadsword. Unless you go by the Skaldic version, where Thor basically murders her for no good reason. Still no broadsword, though.
You're here, aren't you? Seeking counsel from the wisest person in Asgard.
Sorry, Frigg, but that would be Odin. You can make claims like that after you've mastered the runes in the Well of Knowledge. There are others who have lifted Mjolnir, but as stated before, you have to be incredibly strong to do so. Thrym was able to steal it because he was an earth giant, and Thor's 2 sons had to lift it together. I know Cap is strong, but he's not that strong.
Is that everyone? But you wanted more?
Avengers!
Assemble.
You know what's funny? Here we have all the forces of good from multiple worlds arriving to face the forces of evil in a dark wasteland to decide the fate of the universe. This is a more accurate Ragnarok than the actual Ragnarok we got 2 movies ago.
So, when can we expect you back?
About that.
Thor, your people need a king.
No, they already have one.
That's funny. You being serious?
Wouldn't be the first time. Brunhilde is specifically referred to as a queen in the Nibelungenlied. Not sure why Thor's referring to her as a king here, though. Kinda weird.
In ancient times, people believed the heavens were filled with gods and monsters and magical worlds.
Do we not still? What do you think the Christian heaven is? A cubicle?
That's too crazy. Do you think other deities are aliens too? Vishnu for sure, right?
Well, even in Hinduism, Vishnu is technically an alien. He was born in outer space and resides up there most of the time.
You know, it'd be nice if for once Thor and his people sent down the god of cleaning up after yourself. They probably have a magic broom for this kind of thing.
Actually, that would most likely be Gná, the Norse god of errands. She does not have a broom.
Spectrographic signatures match readings from Thor's hammer. Simmons,
whatever was in that tree is Asgardian.
If the material is similar to Thor's hammer, then it would be Nidavelirian, since that's where the hammer was made, not Asgardian.
Jacob Nystrom, 30, girlfriend Petra Larson, leaders of a Norse paganist hate group.
And the numbers are growing thanks to what happened in Greenwich and thanks to the internet. Yay, internet, she said sarcastically. Norse paganist. Obsessed with anything derived from Norse mythology. Stories of Asgard.
I feel attacked. Also, Norse mythology isn't just stories of Asgard. There are 9 realms, and apparently even more in this franchise.
Well, based on these runes, I'd say I'm looking at a piece of the Berserker staff.
There is no Berserker staff in Norse mythology. Berserkers are most famous for wielding axes.
Yeah, the myth dates back to the late 12th century. It's all about a powerful warrior from Asgard. Yeah, a soldier in the Berserker army.
If that guy's a berserker, he's overdressed. Berserkers often fought almost completely nude, save for a bear skin, which I also do not see here.
Berserker army. Oh yeah, a powerful army. Fierce army it was. Berserkers battled like raging beasts, destroying everything in their path. A single berserker had the strength of 20 warriors.
So whoever wielded the staff got superhuman strength?
Fighting with it put the warrior into a state of uncontrollable rage.
No, berserkers got into their berserk state using good old-fashioned drugs and alcohol. And also by biting their shields. It was a weird time.
The warrior in the story? Well, in the story, he came to Earth to fight. But he ended up falling in love.
With whom?
With life on Earth, humanity. He fell so much in love that when his army returned to Asgard, he stayed behind.
What happened to the staff?
Well, he didn't want its dark magic falling into the wrong hands, so he broke it into 3 pieces and hid each one in a different location.
This is not an actual Norse story. Norse mythology is incredibly rich with tales of warriors and weapons, but instead of using one of those, we're gonna make up a new one.
One of my men is hurt. The staff is gone.
I didn't want any of that to happen.
What did you want? The staff's power for yourself?
Nothing like that. You know, I just wanted to be the first to study it. To prove that the Berserkers were actually here. A part of history.
It's very well known that Berserkers were part of history. What are you talking about?
Tell me what that thing did to me and how to fix it.
I swear I don't know.
Okay, then.
You were right. He's Asgardian.
So, you're the Asgardian warrior who stayed.
Please don't tell anyone.
That would mean this guy has been on Earth without access to Idun's apples of youth for over 800 years. He would be long dead by now. The Norse gods aren't actually immortal, they only avoid aging by eating those apples regularly.
You okay?
No. No, I'm parched and weary. Is all of Midgard so desolate?
This woman is Lorelei from German folklore. Lorelei was originally a human from Earth who became a siren after drowning in the ocean, so it doesn't make any sense for her to be asking questions like this. She's also said to have golden hair. Yeah, golden hair is pretty common in these stories.
It's built for 2. You should ask the manager inside. Maybe there's a bus later today.
She's your bride?
Yep. Since yesterday morning.
And you prefer her to me?
Well, yeah. I prefer Nicole to pretty much everyone. That's why I married her. Together forever.
Loyalty. I admire that in a man. I am going to need your help if I am to remain free.
I swear to protect you and keep you safe.
Funny how Lorelai forces men to betray their wives in this show when she herself was originally the victim of a man betraying her. You'd think she'd want less of that.
You and your men now serve me.
Lorelai bewitches men by singing. That didn't sound like a song to me.
I understand you're looking for someone.
I am hunting her. Lorelai. 600 years ago, she used her powers to wreak havoc across the 9 realms, to command armies, bring down kings, empires.
The tale of Lorelai was written and takes place a little over 200 years ago, and it wasn't quite on that level. After becoming a siren, she resided at the top of a rock, which is now named after her, and sung to lure sailors to their deaths. She didn't go to the other realms or start any actual wars.
Do you prefer her to me?
She's nobody next to you.
Nobody? Really? Nobody owns this bar.
Really? Odysseus owns the bar? That's so cool. Oh, wait a minute.
You have experience with swords.
Yes. But I prefer to use my hands.
Admirable. But be warned, Lorelai is quite skilled at combat.
No, she isn't.
I've been where you are, Melinda May. A man I cared for under her spell. So enchanted, forsook his family, his friends, me.
There is no such story in Norse myth. Probably because Lorelai isn't even from Norse myth.
You don't get to decide who deserves to die.
I'm not the one who decides.
If you want me to go over inaccuracies for the Ghost Rider, that's actually very complicated, because he was clearly inspired by multiple sources. His deal with the devil origin is likely inspired by the German tale of Faust, who sells his soul to Mephistopheles and comes to regret it. His name is likely inspired by the song Ghost Riders in the Sky, which itself was inspired by the Wild Hunt and also the tale of the Stampede Mesa. And his role as a bounty hunter for the damned is likely inspired by creatures like the Headless Horseman. Bottom line, there's way too much going on with this guy for a simple inaccuracy video. Oh, and the villains of Season 6 seem to be based on the Incan ruler Pachacuti and the Mayan goddess Ixchel, but honestly, they do not represent those characters in any way. Pachacuti and Ixchel were respected figures, whereas the show depicts them as evil, demonic aliens from a literal fear dimension with parasitic minions trying to conquer Earth.